You are listening to Rocky Trail Radio.
We made it, finally.
Yeah, finally. Yeah, it's been quite a crazy few weeks. A lot happening here at JetBlack. Just working through supply chains and just getting stock.
Tell us more about the everything we hear from the bike industry these days is that it's absolutely going through the roof. Bike shops are just, everybody's sold out with bikes that are less than $1,000. It looks like. I'm surprised there's still a Cruzy there at the back of your screen. That thing's not sold, or is it?
Yeah.
Is it about to go out the door soon?
Thanks. Give me a second.
What's life like in the eye of the storm, so to say, of a crisis where everybody was afraid, oh my God, what's going to happen? And funnily enough, or luckily enough, the cycling industry is just going nuts at the moment.
Yeah, it has been quite an interesting ride, Martin. Just on the whiteboard behind me, if we just reflect back 6 weeks ago and, all the news of lockdowns and the uncertainty, and, we ourselves had a bit of a planning day going, okay, well, if we've got to close for a period of time or we can't do anything, what does that look like?
Yeah.
And I know you and I have had some conversations relating around the racing and other segments of our industry. And so, we've seen pockets where certain aspects of it have been going absolutely mental, far beyond what we could have thought or dreamed of. But yet there are, still very much pockets of things where they've slowed down completely and stopped. And we're very aware how many businesses and people's lives have been impacted through COVID and what's happening.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm to be honest, I'm really hoping to have this positive flow-on effect, because usually what we see, if bike sales are good in general, the following year we see a good year for us.
Yep.
I mean, it's not directly related, but indirectly you can see a little bit of trend. So hopefully that's what's happening right now as well.
And that's the exciting thing I've noticed, even just with my own family, getting out on the weekends and going for family bike rides, is seeing the amount of people out there riding bikes, both bikes that haven't been ridden for a long time and people that have gone out and bought new bikes. That for us is really exciting. We're passionate about cycling, and our tagline is JetBlack, love to ride. And so we love to ride, and so it's great to see people out there, in the midst of all these things, loving riding.
Well, speaking of loving riding, it'd be interesting to hear from your side of the fence how the relationship between Rocky Trail and JetBlack started all those years ago. Because I remember our first meeting. I wonder if you do too, or the first events or something like that. So take us back to how it all started between us and you guys.
Yeah, and that was really exciting. I mean, that was back in the days, where we'd seen the really big marathon events, and the iconic Scott and Mont, and so on. And it was really exciting to see you and Julianne really starting up on a grassroots kind of level, and really not just running from a club-based perspective, but really opening up racing to everybody. And that's what really excited us to get behind, the events, the Rocky Trail 4-hour events, and also the 24-hour events, and be able to be a part of that, and be a part of seeing people out riding the mountain bikes and having fun. I think quite favourably and fondly back on the JetBlack 24 hours and the years that we had sort of torrential rain, and then absolute heat. Never forget seeing Jason English's cycling in his Garmin, registering it was 49 degrees or 50 degrees at the top of the fire road climb.
It was an oven that day.
Yep. And just working out how many liters of water he was going through an hour.
So the rainy ones, and I go back even. So that meeting, I remember, it was we're sitting together and we were talking about that we're looking for a venue for a 24-hour, and you just stormed out and went to grab Dave Group.
Yep.
And I said, aren't you building somewhere, some stuff? What about we run a 24-hour race? And he came back. He's like, yeah, you got to come. It's Del Rio. It's super exciting.
Yep.
And then, we went there with him, started building these hectic trails, which retrospectively probably didn't work, never as good as we wanted. But it was some iconic races, and everybody who was there will remember them forever.
Yeah,
If only
absolutely.
for the 200 mil of rain that fell on top of us within the first, I don't know, 6 hours of that event happening.
Exactly, and a set of brake pads every lap.
Yeah, Sydney did not have brake pads anymore.
Yeah, no, well, it's great,
Anyway.
and it's great to see, Martin, in terms of your events and how they've evolved, since then. And that is one of the things we love about our relationship and being part of Rocky Trail is seeing not only your enthusiasm and the fun that you bring into it, but also the level of professionalism and the dedication of you and your team behind the scenes to make it all happen.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it means a lot to me. What about your own rides? We've seen you obviously at plenty of the events over the years. I don't think I've seen you at a Superflow yet. Or have you done one of those? I'm not too sure.
Yeah,
Definitely a lot of GPs in 24 hours.
I did one in Canberra. It's probably been about.
Oh yeah, true. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. I remember. Yeah.
Yep. And that's for me one thing I really love about cycling, and it goes back to JetBlack Love to Ride, is if I think back over my life, what riding a bicycle through the different seasons of life has been like. If I think back from a kid growing up in the suburbs of Johannesburg, just getting out my BMX and loving to get lost just for the adventure and finding my way home as a 7-8-year-old. All the way through to first mountain bike rides and getting into mountain biking in events in Cape Town, coming over to Australia and getting involved in JetBlack, to even learning how to ride a road bike and just being traditionally coming from a mountain bike background, learning all about road riding and loving that. Having kids and seeing them introduced into cycling and riding.
Bringing the cruises in just because you had kids, isn't that?
Exactly.
I remember the story you told me where you looked at them and was like, yeah, I'm not too sure. And then you took one home and your kids they wouldn't let go of it all weekend.
Exactly.
And you decided to bring them in.
Exactly. We'd actually said no to Cruisy as a brand, and they were going to go with another distributor whose name I shall not mention. And I walked in the door with the two Cruisies, and the kids jumped up, and my wife looked at me and said, "Oh, you're doing these?" And I said, "No." She said, "Tony, you're an idiot." So that was good to get those in, and so we're just currently I'm enjoying getting back on my cross country bike.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a new Pivot Mach 4, and just getting out and riding that.
Is it the brand new one you're riding, or
it is the brand new 4SL? Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm built up, nice stealth black with Fox Factory Orange as a JetBlack black and orange bike.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really fun as well. I've got a 17-year-old stepson, and he's into enduro and trail riding. So it's been really fun to be getting into a little bit of that style of riding as well, and be taking him to the Superflow series, and looking forward to getting to a few more.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. When are you going all the way back again? We're moving backwards rather than forwards. When did you start JetBlack? How did that come about?
Yeah, so we started JetBlack Shucks back in September 2005.
Mm-hmm.
And that came about through a relationship and friendship with Trent.
Mm-hmm.
And he was talking about, he worked for someone else at the time and was talking about starting a not really a distribution company, but really a global brand.
Mm-hmm.
And we were chatting through that, and said, that sounds great. So September 2005, we started, and right from the day dot we started with the brands. We started with JetBlack sitting alongside of those brands. Very deliberate. Always had the vision to be not only just a distribution company, but to be a global brand. And and sort of fast forward all these years later, it's been an amazing ride, and we've had and been very privileged and blessed to have the support of so many riders, so many retailers and so many global distributors to help us where we are today. And I really just sort of have a sense that we're only really coming of age, and really from the season stepping forward that I've got a lot of amazing plans that's on the inside of me to really bring forward both in product and who we are, bring forward that into the market.
Do you think as an entrepreneur going through crises like these, it makes you better coming out the other side? Does it make you stronger, or you over it, where you go like, yeah, it's a great saying, but really if we could just smooth sail it along, that would be so much nicer?
Yeah, I think, as we all know, Martin, nothing in life comes easy, and people can often look in any situation and go, "Oh, I wish I was them," or "Wish we had what we had." But people don't really know, what it's taken to get there and the cost to get there. And I think those of us that do have our own businesses that are involved in various ventures, be it a business or training, what have you. There's something deep inside that you're doing it because you love it. Mm-hmm. And I think anything worthy achieving in life is hard. I remember a few years ago in a different season going through an unfortunate divorce and my 6-year-old at the time with leukemia. And it's almost like one of those mountain bike rides where you think you've done 60, 70 kilometers off road, and you get to the end and you think this is the last climb. And I remember just inside of me sort of thinking, oh, this is the last climb, and getting to the top of the hill, and then sort of looking out, and there's hills for as far as the eye could see. And it's just one of those things. I think through these tough times, it can be a time of reflection, and I know you've been through just following your blogs and so on. It is a time for people to just stop and reflect and take stock and say, hey, is where we're going, where we want to go, what can we change, what can we improve, and so on and so on. So for us, we've had different seasons of reflection through different events, both personally and as a business. But for us, with what we've been working on and developing in our especially in the smart trainer space, COVID has been anything but a time of reflection. But it's a time of really now we're executing the final steps of that. And I personally am really, really, really excited to see and to see what we have to be able to bring to market, and very, very proud of our product lineup.
Because that's you're talking about all the smart trainer lineups that you and I've seen the developments over the years.
Yep.
I've got a few myself. I think one of the very first mag trainers that they're great, but I think they topped out at about 400 watts or something. Yep. Now I have a Whisper Light, and you got the new Volt coming out very soon. So
yes.
Tell us a little bit about that new venture of yours, and how you, not just the features, but also how you looked at what exists and what's out there and how you can be different. How is a product development for like an extremely technical cycling product like that? How does that, talk us a little bit through that process, please? Yeah,
and sort of what I suppose with any product development cycle, and you speak to the guys at Shimano or SRAM, they're saying what we're seeing now actually started 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago. And so really in terms of the Volt and the other products and accessories around that, that's really the culmination of 5 to 6 years of development. Mm-hmm. Certainly within the smart trainer space, going from traditional trainers whereby you've got a mechanical device, and so there's an aspect of complexity, but it's all mechanical. When we move into smart trainer space, you've got not only the mechanics, but you've got the electronics. They have to run it all, and then sitting on top of the electronics, you've got all the firmware that has to be talking to the trainer, as well as talking to different apps to give the trainer commands on what to do, and then working out what power the trainer's putting out, and it's got to calculate all those things. So it is a very, very complex setup, and not that easy to build these type of devices, which I think is why you see many, many different bike brands, but certainly within the trainer space. Mm-hmm. There's a lot fewer that are out there. So we started in the smart trainer space with our Whisper Drive product that came to market roughly 3 years ago. Mm-hmm. And For its time, we believe it was a very, very, very innovative product, being fully self-generating.
So was it the
trainer.
Whisper? No, that was the Whisper After one that I have. I have the
Correct.
one where
Yep.
there was a little dongle kind of thing where you could sort of get an estimate for your speed. But I think you're talking about the following version. So the first one, it was a proper smart trainer, so that then adjusts the resistance on
Yep.
your rear wheel based on your training program or based on your Swift or Strava, not Strava,
Absolutely.
but whichever app you're in. So that adjusts that. So that's just is that the difference between a smart trainer and just a regular trainer?
Correct. Yes. And I think one of the things that a lot of people don't know is that even with your regular trainer, you're able to connect those to Zwift. And so just if you've got a Bluetooth enabled speed and cadence sensor, you can connect onto Zwift or any other online platform and use that trainer. But the difference being is that it won't automatically adjust to the gradients. But it is a way as an entry level to get onto those training platforms. The full smart trainers are the ones that can then communicate with those platforms, and as you encounter gradient changes and various other aspects within the online environment.
Things like drafting, I think it is even adjusted in Swift. Is that right?
Yep,
I don't have
Yeah. And that'll then talk through back to the trainer, and the trainer adjusts its resistance according to that. And then within those type of environments, there's things like, well, how accurate is the trainer compared to riding? How fast can the trainer react? So if you're riding up and down hills and so on, it's important to really get the trainer reacting in the right way. So some trainers, like our Whisper Drive, because of the mechanical design, was fairly slow to change and react. Where other of the smart electromagnetic trainers can potentially react too fast.
Okay.
Which can also cause a little bit of a disjointed experience.
So what are the main systems out there in terms of how your resistance is done? So electromagnetic, essentially a magnet against a flywheel, is that correct? And then you got some sort of fluid technology as well, is that?
Yeah, so within the traditional trainers, there's a magnetic trainer, so it's a resistance via magnets. And then you've got your fluid trainer, which is like an oil type substance in the head and generates resistance against the fluid in the traditional space. There are others like wind trainers and so on, but they tend to be quite minor. Within the smart trainer space, you can have a sort of like a magnetic type system. Which is what our original Whisper Drive was based on. And then you can have an electromagnetic type system. Our Whisper Drive is more like a brake generator type system, which uses sort of fixed magnets. So that enabled us to be self-generating and so on, but which is quite innovative. But
just to reiterate, self-generating means you do not plug this into a power point.
Correct. Yep.
So whatever you do, like, because it's everybody puts out a few hundred watts at least, I'm guessing, and your phone or your thing only takes, 20, 30, 40 watts or something to run. So you can quite easily run all your IT off your own power as opposed to having to find a power plug where you can plug it in.
Yeah, it was more sort of self-generating that it would power itself and be able to have enough power within its own contained system to change the resistance as required and power the electronics to send either the Bluetooth or N+ signal to the various devices. Our new Volt trainer, however, is not running on that system. It's running more on the electromagnetic system, which is an electromagnet that works in conjunction with a flywheel to create the resistance. The advantages of using the electromagnetic system is our power accuracy. You can get a very, very accurate power measurement, which, as we know, with online on Swift and racing is very important. But the electromagnetic system also enables us to allow the trainer to react very, very quickly to changes in gradient, or if one's doing an erg session where you're doing, say, intervals at 100 watts, you need to go up to 800 watts, we can change the resistance on the trainer very quickly to the required resistance level. There is quite a lot of work that goes into the back end to get that right. Some of the cheaper smart trainers have a basic that they can change and they work, but the feel of them is a little bit like pedaling through sand. Mm-hmm. If I can give an analogy, and riding those, it's you hop on and it's a bit of a slog. Within the new Volt, we've worked really, really hard on the electronics and the firmware to get those changes very, very nice and smooth and realistic. So it's not too fast, it's not too slow. So riding up and down hills on Zwift, if you're going down a hill into a little bit of a dip onto the next hill, you can almost, even though the train is stationary, you can feel almost the momentum of going up into the next hill.
Wow. It sounds a bit like the e-bike developments as well, where the first editions they came out, it was sort of pretty much full gas or nothing.
Yep.
Whereas now the new modes and almost like engine mapping, where it's sort of the power comes in slowly and gradual as you start pedaling, as you would without a motor. So it sounds that with the right programming skills, you can actually achieve mad amounts of the right feel, which ultimately, if you spend a lot of time on it, if it's a rainy winter and you spend hours on that thing, you want it to feel nice, and that does make a difference.
Yeah, exactly, and that just comes back to our mantra of love the ride, and even and especially on our indoor trainers, which is a very, very big part of our business. We do want our users to use it and come off it and I love this, I enjoyed this. And I know on our latest one, which I've been testing on and off, over the past months as we just about bringing it to market now, as I've really felt that ride tune being filled, I've gotten off it and just gone, wow, I'm almost craving to get back on this. It's such fun. You can almost feel the bike moving, even though you're sitting stationary in the garage. And for me, that's the most exciting thing. That if I'm personally going, you know what, I could choose to ride anything, but I'd choose to ride this product just because of how it feels. I'm really very, very excited to be able to take that and translate that into others' experience as well.
When is it going to land? Is it on the market just yet, or it's probably a bit hard to say with supply lines being massively interrupted in the last few weeks and months. But do you have a date for it yet, or a wish date where you hope that you can have them here? Or
so we've got them in production. Mm-hmm. We expect to be putting them on a boat fairly soon. We're sort of it's towards the end of May now, so I'd expect them to be into Australian retail stores by the end of June, early July at this point in time. But we're just wanting to make sure that everything is absolutely completely dialed before they leave the factory.
And then my last question I have for you, and that's we can probably go on forever, so just a short uptake of you, especially from JetBlack's point of view.
Yep.
You've seen since 2005 lots of changes in the industry, a lot of players come and go. Obviously, internet sales have been a massive disruptor, and now we have this new situation. What do you think the future is going to be like for the cycling industry as a whole and for JetBlack in particular?
That's a great question. And I think as consumers in general, and one thing that COVID has done is pushing our buying behaviors and patterns more towards an online type experience. It was really interesting just looking at the financial stats and the online buying behavior. If you look at the percentage purchased in a month, I think before COVID, we were sitting at around 6.9%.
That's economy as a whole, or cycling industry?
No, just the economy as a whole. 6.9% of our purchases have been online, where over the last 3 months, that number's been pushed to over 10%. And whilst those 3-4% don't sound like a big change, within those that are reporting on that, apparently it's huge. So I think more and more of our behavior and so on is all going online, and for JetBlack, it's about how do we generate content, how do we generate, as people are searching up things and wanting to find out, about product, the online experience is really, really important. So if you look at our new website, JetBlackCycling.com, that's on our trainer-specific product, we've invested a lot of time and money in terms of showcasing our products within that space. But I think at the same time, I love just the fact that through this time, all the independent bike shops have been extremely busy. It's extremely hard to change your bottom bracket online. It's extremely hard to change your gears online. It's extremely hard to just get that experience and go, hey, which grip should I buy, and so on. And I think that can't be replaced. And so, we've always been a very, very strong and firm supporter of our local IBD business, and we'll continue to do that. It is important that we continue to reach out and we can provide content and information to consumers online, but where possible, I love seeing people going back into the local bike shops, supporting those bike shops, buying product through those shops, because that ultimately fuels everything. I think there is space for we all buy products online, and there's certainly space for the online resellers as well. A lot of people, that's their preference, and we can't ignore that and say, well, everybody has to go buy a shop. There are definitely people that have a preference to buy online. But we're also seeing more and more shops, getting stronger within their own online presence.
Yeah.
I think a lot of change, but certainly in our industry, maybe things are not changing quite as fast as we may have thought they would have.
Which is good, I guess. I mean, when you look at the bicycle, and that's what I love about it. If you look at the pictures of the first bikes from, over 100 years ago, or first bikes that sort of, looked like bikes, not two rocks slapped together, and to a new bike now, really, when you look from afar, there hasn't been all that much change. And then when you look at the details, there's obviously been massive amounts of change. But still, you could hop on a bike that's 100 years old and ride around and have fun of it too. So you probably couldn't stop with those brakes, but everything else you could get around. So that's why I love on the one hand that very long tradition that those bikes have, and on the other hand, that pushing the envelope on all the things technical. What you're doing with trainers. It's just when you never think of it, when you just look at the thing, go like, yeah, that's cool. I can put my bike on it, and it does certain things. Yeah. But when you stop and think how much technology actually needs to be in there, like in a thing that you put over 1,000 watts into, and you feel like it, and it still doesn't fall apart, and has like minute little electronics that make sure that it feels like a mass sprint, and when you get out of a draft, that you get the extra 20% thrown at you naturally. That's where you guys are really pushing the envelope. That's fantastic.
No, thanks, Martin. And I think that's the really exciting thing, is we see cycling growing, and it's not so much now whether it's indoor cycling or outdoor cycling. I think it's just coming a case that I love riding my bike. And sometimes I'll ride my bike indoors, and sometimes I'll ride my bike outdoors. And just having that seamless transition between the two. And I think that is also true of what you were saying in terms of bikes. And I love seeing cycling transcend across the generations. And we spoke earlier in the call about, enjoying cycling with my 16-year-old or 17-year-old stepson, and just seeing my kids starting on balance bikes and then across to pedal bikes to, into mountain bikes. And so seeing that translate into generations, and certainly within the cycling industry, it's been around, for a long time. And with the continued push into the tech space, I would see that cycling is still going to be around for hundreds of years to come. I don't think man's affair with the bicycle will ever end, really, which is amazing.
I agree 100%. It's going to, new things come about and get exciting, but the old traditional bike, still an awesome way to get around, and we've seen that more than ever right now all across the world, because that's not an Australian phenomenon where people are on the bike all of a sudden. It's global. In Vienna, they've ripped out some of the roads, well, not ripped out, but transferred roads into cycling only roads, because they went, well, so many cyclists about and nobody's driving their cars anymore because public transport isn't all that great at the moment. Let's put in more roads, especially for cyclists, for the time being. Hopefully that stays around. Some will, some won't, but overall, but that all those things make me very hopeful, and we think that we can run events hopefully very soon again.
Yes. So my last question to you, sort of, how are things looking on the event scene? And I have seen some posts in terms of exploring some options, and also, as all of us are being agile and to a certain extent recreating ourselves. What does it look like for Rocky Trail in this era of social distancing that we live in?
For us, it's really much analyzing what's happening here and getting as much information from all over the world in terms of how people prepare for it. So nobody in the world has run events again just as of yet. The first ones are planning June, which is ambitious, but we'll see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's all about making sure that if something goes wrong, it's about mitigating risk. And we've done that since day one. Since the first event, we looked at the risk and the situations that arise, because if you go down a hill fast on a bike, if you hit a tree, it's going to hurt you. So we're very good at that. And it's just another level of complexity on top of it. And we got to make sure that our events are safe as they can be, that they are fair, but also fun. And that's the important bit to us, where you can all ride around in a circle. That's all nice, but we want to have that fun, and we want to have a certain social element.
Yeah.
So it is very important for us to still come up with event concepts that have that. But of course, in the short term, it's about opening up as quickly as possible, and some events will look different. So as you see it in the news anyway. It's the same with restaurants now opening up. Okay, you can have 10 people now. In a few weeks, you can have 50 people, and then probably you can have a few more. So it's going to be the same for us. So we start with relatively tight rules in terms of when people can start their races. It's going to be a lot of wave starts as opposed to one big mass start. But hopefully all this will just come in fairly quick phases, so that we can get back to how it was, or almost how it was, relatively soon. But there's ways. We're hopeful for July that we can start again there. We started to work on the calendar for the rest of the season, so that's going to be up on our website pretty soon. And it's life is normal. You just look at complexities of an event, and you're like, oh, well, it just got a little bit more complex. And if you're good at what you're doing, then you find ways of giving our racers a fun race that they will come and want to do again and again, and not just because they haven't raced so long, but because they are also generally a good day out, good weekend out with your friends and your family. We can go explore new places, new venues, and have some fun on the bike.
Yep, fantastic.
Cool. Hey, thank you so much for your time.
Yep.
And look forward to seeing you at one of the events as soon as we start again.
Yep, fantastic, Martin. Thanks again,
Cool.
and look forward to catching up in person soon.
Sounds good.
Cheers.
Thanks, Tony.
Bye-bye.
You are listening to Rocky Trail Radio.